Quiet, ain't it? Calm before the storm, for sure. Not only inside, but out as well. Mariner, are we okay to start with our presentation? Oh, yeah, no, I understand, but I was just wondering if, okay. Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to start out this morning with a presentation from Steve Sanders on our rain gauges and things this morning to better understand what they're doing to help protect our area from these rains that are coming in. And so we'll go with a presentation with Steve prior to opening today's meeting. Good morning, Steve. Thank you for your information.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You'll see on the map that it's a picture of the telegraph burn scar.
We need to get you a different chair.
We have quite a few little blue marks around inside the burn and just outside of the burn. Those are rain gauges that are reporting. The one, just click on any of them, Tom. That is the Russell Gulch. That's up on Madera Peak. The drainage is Russell Gulch. These are on the website where anybody can click on them, and it will give you the rainfall intensity, how much rain has happened in the last 15 minutes, 30 minutes, hour, and it'll go back to 30 days. These gauges, some of them were new, and some of them were not working that Fuller has put in place for us. It's a great tool to show us what goes on. And then there's also right there, it's hard to see on this background, but if you'll click on one again, Tom, this one is, okay, and it says radar just to the right. If you click on that and then you go click on the arrow, it will show all the radar that's going in. You zoom out and it'll show it statewide. But specifically, it'll start showing it in our area. I don't know why this background is, that's a little better. But yeah, you can see some storms starting to brew around the Phoenix area and things. But it's just another tool we have to try to help people, let people know what's going on. In addition, there's trail cameras going up on the streams. Some have been up. One in 6-shooter washed away with the storm last week, but we're just starting to get that information. Hopefully in a few days, we'll have it live where you can go on the website, click on a trail camera. They take a picture of the stream every 15 minutes. If the stream starts running, then they'll turn the picture to a video so we can watch it. It's a very helpful tool. I think it was last Friday night. There's been so many that it's hard to keep track of the days, but I think it was Friday night. Some of J.E. Fuller's people that are doing this called me and said, "You're getting water in Russell Gulch." I said, "No, the gauges aren't showing anything. We were watching gauges." He said, "No, the trail camera picked it up." Sure enough, water was coming down Russell Gulch. We had time to notify the city so they could get their plan in place for the hospital crossing. But it's a very useful tool in addition to all of these rain gauges. And they're on the website. The cameras are not, but they will be. But these rain gauges are on the front page of the county website so the public can access them 24/7 and see what's going on. And then we have one other map that we'll show you. This is over here on the left, records visible, 747 properties in these drainages that we need permission from. And as you zoom in, this is a dynamic live map. It will show you how many's in each view. We have them color-coded. Green means we have permission to get on the property. Red means we don't have, stay off of it. And orange is property that has been cleaned. Very helpful tool. It's up on the county's website under GIS maps, I believe, Tom, that you can go to it. This is updated constantly. It lets the contractors in the field and staff in the field know what's clean, what needs to be cleaned. And there's also on their phone an app that they can hit location, and it will show them where they're at in relation to each one of these properties. Just kind of wanted to give you an overview and an update on what's going on and what we're doing out there to try and help mitigate this and prevent future damage. Yeah, there's trouble getting the rain gauges up on an iPad. On an iPhone, it seems to work, but it's something we're working through, and hopefully we'll have that solved.
Steve, on the red properties, we've already contacted those people and they have not gave us
Correct.
permission?
That's, BHP, and BHP said no, don't.
Okay, but their own properties. But I mean, and do we have quite a few other red properties along like Russell Galt's Ice House, Six Shooter, those kind of things?
I think up Kellner, there may be one or two, and up Ice House that said stay off my property. But for the most part, it's the mines. And FMI, they're red for us, but they have hired contractors to go in on their dime and clean channels on their property. So it's getting taken care of. Just this is to let our contractors know to stay off.
Okay, could I have a list of names of the people that have not signed for some reason or other? Is that
Yeah,
that
we can generate
possible?
that. And in addition, I forgot to mention there's gray on here also. The gray means people we haven't made contact with that have not signed one way or another that we're attempting to make contact with.
Okay.
But yeah, we can create that fairly easy and give you a list.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it because I just like to know why. And so I'll ask why.
Sure. And I think Michael O'Driscoll has had teams of his staff out going door to door, asking permission. So it's
Sure.
And then with the social media, with the counties, I'm putting out the city. You know, it's
Correct.
people should know by now.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, right. I understand. But thank you for the list.
Thank you. Certainly.
Okay, any questions from any of the other board or?
So, Steve, the cameras where Fuller picked that up on that wash is maybe it's more a question for Michael, but is there someone in one of your two departments that's kind of keeping an eye on those now, or?
We just got word that they were up and live. Fuller was they're building a website for them right now. I got word last night that it's starting to go live. I think it was just internal, but they were notifying me as soon as they started showing something. Hopefully, by the end of the week, we'll have a working website, or they will, where anybody can go to it, or we can go to it, or we'll have it up on the website by these rain gauges.
Okay. Your rain gauges work well. I was pulling those up in DC and looking at those. That seemed to always work no matter what. And then we were getting notifications as well.
Yeah, that's something emergency management has set up, and I think they're tied in directly to the gauges. Mm-hmm. Once they start reporting any amounts, they get notified on their phone to, if you're not watching, to start watching.
Okay. Another question for you is, I know Michael's department went in and did a lot of assessments on private properties and things like that. We're still just sticking with the stream banks, the roads, things like that. We're not stepping out on somebody's private property to...
No, we're not. And Michael's been working with the state, and he can answer this better than I can. We're asking if our contracts can be modified where we can go in and help the cleanup and have our contractors go in there. But I don't believe he's got an answer on that yet. But I don't want to speak for him, but I know he's in conversations with the state about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thanks, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, thank you.
Do you want to ask Michael O'Driscoll a question?
Sure, if we got time.
Yeah,
Chair.
Mike, if you don't mind, could we, being that we're on the flooding deal, Supervisor Klein, go ahead.
Yeah. So where are we at with that, Michael, basically?
So a few days ago, we submitted a request to DEMA and DIFM to hire contractors to go on the private property. And we gave them a quote. We gave them a list of contractors, the 9 contractors that we're using right now in the banks and in the gulches. And we haven't heard back yet from them. It usually takes them. I think it's a challenge for them to try to figure out what liability is involved if we go on private property and do work like that. I should hear back either today or tomorrow about that particular request.
And so are we getting any cooperation from FEMA on anything?
So I think this current it's an interesting question. So typically during an event like this, there's individual assistance that's available through FEMA for larger events, larger federally declared emergency. And when you have individual assistance, then if you met a certain threshold, a homeowner, a county, then there's funding available, low interest loans available to sort of rebuild. That seems to be changing currently with the condominium complex out in Florida that has collapsed. FEMA created an individual assistance program just for that condo association in that building. So that I have never seen before. So I think, and I was talking to the chair earlier this morning about FEMA, and so the rules seem to be changing a little bit. So I'm going to meet with the chairman after and discuss about individual assistance and see if we can't, if he can't contact FEMA and see what kind of funding may be available for the homeowners who had their houses burned as well as damaged by the flooding. So there, in larger events, there is individual assistance, but it has to be a declared emergency at the federal level, and this wasn't. But that seems to have changed over the last week, what the federal government has done.
But we are, as far as the state and local governments, were declared emergency.
Correct. That's absolutely
And so, with that in mind, if that's the case, and Tim needs to reach out to FEMA and start talking to them through you or with you or whatever it is, then James, is that something, as far as the chair's concerned, he can draft a letter on behalf of the county to put some weight behind it and see what we could go for?
Yeah, that's something we've got set up after their meeting today. We're going to go through and see what we can come up with.
And I do, Chair, and I do have a call in to FEMA after we discussed it and trying to set up a conference with us at 12:30 to talk about individual assistance. So
Thank you
very
very
much.
much.
One more real quick question. Who in DIFMA are you talking to?
DIFM, we go through DEMA. So the process for you mean the funding for the legislative monies? So the process in place is we request through DEMA, and the director of DEMA and DIFM are working together to coordinate which requests are approved or not approved, and if they're rejected, the reasons why. So most everything we've asked for has been approved, which is, the process seems to be working fairly well. There's some that have been rejected, from the city of Globe and the town of Miami. Some of those have been rejected, and there's reasons why.
Yeah.
On their end, in their mind, it didn't meet the legislative intent, and things like that.
Is
So.
any of that money, this will be my last question, Mr. Chair, so I know we got a lot to go, but is any of that money being overlapped on the Fed side of things, like spent on the federal side?
No, that's all state money. That's all spent for fire prevention, suppression, and mitigation.
So it's all on private and whatever?
Correct. Yeah, and that's that money is set aside for all counties as well. We just happen to be the county that was in dire need of that funding and some of that resources right away.
Yeah, basically, if Governor Ducey hadn't come up with $100 million, we'd be sitting on our thumbs.
We'd have a lot of expenses that I might be coming in front of you to ask for mitigation. So absolutely, it's been very helpful.
Yes.
I could go on for a while, Tim, but I'm going to stop right there. Thank you,
Thank
Michael.
you, sir.
Well, if we'd have known ahead of time, we could have got you in on our conference call at 12:30, but we don't have time to do it yet. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go ahead with our opening our meeting.
Great, thank you.
I appreciate it this morning. Okay. With no further delays. This morning, I will open our special meeting Tuesday, July 13th at about 10, 12, 10, 13, something like that. And Mr. Menlove, would you lead us in our pledge? And our invocation today will be by Supervisor Steve Christensen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would bow with me. Thank you, Father, for the blessed life that you've given us, for the opportunity to serve you each day. We pray, Father, that you would provide us all wisdom as we serve the county, the Gila County, and as we serve the people that live here. We pray, Father, that that wisdom would show to everyone that we are considering the best for all that live here. And we pray, Father, you would keep us free, that you would be with our nation as a whole, and that we would turn to you in everything. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we have a public hearing. A public hearing. I'm asking for a motion to adjourn as Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as Gila County Library District Board of Directors to address 2A.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Okay, now that we are wearing the hats of Gila County Library District Board of Directors, 2A, convene a Truth in Taxation TNT public hearing to hear from citizens regarding the proposed primary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per hundred assessed value for the fiscal year 2022, excluding amounts that are attributed to new construction and any changes that may occur from property tax levies for voter-approved bonded indebtedness or budget and tax overrides, that is $48,208 greater than the amount allowed with a TNT public hearing, and approve the proposed primary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per hundred of assessed value for fiscal year 2022. You don't look like Jackie Sanders.
I'm doing the Jackie Sanders impression today.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to this.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, member supervisors. I've come to you today with the public hearing on the truth in taxation for the library district. And since 2015, the rate has been 2425. We did miss 1 year because of the publication in the newspaper, but every year we get a calculation from Department of Revenue that tells us what we can propose as a tax without having a TNT hearing. And the amount that they proposed was $200 more in total tax from the year prior. So we're asking the board today to keep that tax rate at 0.2425 so we can go ahead and have that increase. That amounts to $29,770 in the increase, keeping the tax rate the same as we had last year. So with that, I'll answer any questions, or my backup singer Jackie could.
Oh, okay.
I do have comments from the public, and it is a public hearing.
Okay.
So would you like me to read those first?
Yeah, let me open the public hearing and then hear the readings. Okay. So at this point, I will open the public hearing. And so now that it's a public hearing, you can read the responses of the public.
Okay, this one is from Janet Williams. To whom it may concern, I strongly object to the proposed tax increase for the library district in the amount of 2.23%. No tax increase. And this is Janet Williams from Payson.
Okay.
The next item I have is from a lady named Bridget, and her email address is Wiggles. I am writing to object to increasing taxes for libraries. If anything, you should raise fees on users of the library and leave the rest of us out of it. I see only a select few using the library resources at the expense of all of us. We should not have any additional taxes imposed. Respectfully, Bridget. And the last one I have is Karen Davis. To whom it may concern, I am voicing my strong objection to this proposed property tax increase. It is yet another example of government overreach. It comes at a time when residents are still struggling with the economic fallout of the virus lockdown. In the meantime, our library remains closed for an extended period of time due to the virus restrictions, and to date, we have not received any refund or relief on our property taxes for the time taxpayers were unable to access the facilities. All of us taxpayers are expected to tighten our belts and live within our budgets. Why can't the county do the same? Regards, Karen Davis, Star Valley. And those are the comments that I have for this item.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public in Payson?
No, sir.
I see no public here to address. Do we have anyone on YouTube for the public hearing? Okay, then I will close the public hearing and ask for comments from the board. Supervisor Christensen, do you have comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mary, I have a copy of what you just read. So, and I hope they're listening today, because I think they misunderstand what this is about. We're not increasing our taxes, are we?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, we're not increasing the tax rate.
We're not increasing the tax rate.
Correct. Based on the net assessed values, taxes do go up, but we're not increasing the rate. And
Okay.
one other thing I might add, the proposed rate, keeping it the same, it increases 53 cents per 100,000 on a home. So if your home was valued at $100,000, you would see a 53-cent increase.
Okay, so surely that's a small amount. So if your valuation is 100,000, you're going to see a 53-cent increase. And but why would that be an increase? Why would that not be the same as last year if you were valued at the same last year?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, it's based on the net assessed values for the current year. So if the net assessed values go up, there is an incremental increase.
Right, okay.
And it's less new construction.
Okay, so if I decipher what you're saying, because I'm doing this so if anyone's watching, I'm trying to answer these people's questions. So it's not government overreach. We're not increasing taxes. But if your assessed evaluation were to go up by $100,000 from last year, you would see an impact of 53 cents in your taxes. Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I don't think that's...
So, well, let's say then, this is what I'm trying to find out. If your assessed valuation last year was 100,000 and it's 100,000 this year, would you see any increase in taxes?
Your tax rate would be $24.25.
So you would not see an increase?
No.
So the 53 cents you're talking about is if it increased by 100,000.
If it increased, if your net assessed value increased.
That much. Okay. Thank you, Mary.
If I may, and the assessed value of the properties are set by the Gila County assessor, not the Board of Supervisors.
Yep.
And they're an elected position. So they, from time to time, change assessed values of properties depending on building in the place and things of that nature.
And if
Yes, Jackie, you
Mr.
can
Chair
address
and
this,
board
please.
members, there are limits to which a house can increase in assessed value. I believe it's 5%. So if you had a house that increased the full 5%, you might see that 53% that 53 cent increase. That's you can't double a house. There are laws that prevent a house from doubling in assessed value unless you did a remodel and doubled the house's size, right? So the same house year over year can increase incrementally in assessed value.
Thank you, Jackie. See, I'm also opposed to a tax increase. So I want people to know that we're not increasing taxes. But if your value of your home has gone up, you will see the tax charge be higher because of that value increase. And that's through the assessor that we have no control over.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Klein.
Okay. You guys are absolutely right. You know, when it comes to the tax rate, we're not changing tax rates. We're not proposing that. And that is a real mixed signal that our public gets. And it's a conversation I've had a lot. Right. And it's a mixed bag because in a sense, you're sitting on a house, maybe you're thinking about selling it, that gain in assessed value, I mean, that kind of helps. You know, prices are going up, property prices are high, construction costs are high, things go up. But what you guys are saying is absolutely true. We're not changing the tax rate on this. And really, the only chance we'd have to even to do anything with it would be to lower the tax rate to make up for what the assessed values are. And that hurts our libraries. It hurts other parts of the county as well. And so it's a tough one, and it's a hard one for a lot of people to really understand. But as long as we're not adjusting those tax rates, I'm like you, Steve. I don't want to raise taxes. I don't. But also, when I say I buy a piece of property, I build a house, I want it to be nice, I want it to be worth a lot of money, and on and on and on, you know. And so that's just kind of where we're at. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yeah, and the thing of it is our income raises because if we do 150 building permits, that's property that's assessed that wasn't assessed last year. So that's an income, but it's not because we raise taxes. It's because we have people moving here and building places which increase our income. So anyway, okay, if there's no further questions and no further public, Mr. Menloview, do you need a minute? Okay, you look like you're ready to go.
I was ready, but you guys have...
We've done okay? All right, good job, guys. Pat yourself on the back. Okay, yeah, okay. Here we go. Then I will close the public hearing and call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion to approve the Gila County Library District proposed primary property tax levy rate of 0.2425 per 100 of assessed value for fiscal year 2022.
I will second that.
Okay, having a motion and a second, we will be a roll call vote by Marion. So we have a motion and a second. So Marion, if you'd like to go ahead and call for the vote.
Thank you. Chairman Humphrey, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Christensen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Klein, may I have your vote?
Aye.
The motion passes with a unanimous vote of the board.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I'll ask for a motion to adjourn as Gila County Library Board of Directors and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors to discuss 2B.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Okay, now that we're wearing the hat of the Gila County Board of Supervisors, convene a truth in taxation public hearing to hear from citizens on a proposed primary property tax levy for fiscal year 2022, including amounts that are attributed to new construction and any changes that may occur from property tax levies for voter-approved bonded indebtedness or budget and tax overrides that is $515,636 greater than the allowable levy without a truth in taxation hearing public hearing and approve the proposed primary property tax levy for fiscal year 2022. Mary Springer, now you can be yourself. You don't have
All
to be an
right.
impression.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. This is similar to the last item. This has to do with the Gila County tax rate. And one thing I will remind you of, since 2010, our tax rate has remained $4.19. We have not changed that tax rate. When we do get the information from the Truth and Taxation, or from Department of Revenue, we crunch the numbers with what they've given us. They tell us what we can propose for our levy amount without a TNT hearing. And for this year, if we had gone with their rate, which would have been $4.09, that would have given us $7,380 more than last year. And I know you're all aware that, I mean, there's increases in health insurance, there's increases in person's pay, operations, so $7,380 would not cover those expenses going into the next fiscal year. So we're asking the board to approve the tax rate of $4.19. And I do have comments, so whenever you get ready for the public hearing portion.
Okay. I will, in that case, open public hearing so you can go ahead with the public's comments.
Okay, this came from Christy Messler. I am writing today to oppose any tax increase to property taxes this year. We have suffered through a pandemic that has placed a hold on our lives for over a year. Many seniors, even with policies in place to keep taxes lower, struggle with upkeep on our properties. Many do not have families available to firewise maintain trees and brush, so more resources must be available to pay for these services. Gila County, like a number of Arizona counties, have received federal funds through COVID relief. Use these resources for established tax basis. Increase taxes on new construction, remodels, and such, and consider permanent restrictions to senior taxes. We already pay some of the highest local taxes in Gila County / Payson at nearly 10%. Do not raise property tax as well. Sincerely, Chris Messler out of Pine, Arizona. The next email is from Janet Williams. I strongly object to the tax rate increase on property taxes by the Gila County Board of Supervisors as proposed in the Truth and Taxation hearing. This is government overreach. Our taxes were recently increased. No increase in property taxes. Janet Williams out of Payson. The next one is from a lady named Bridget Gallo G. I know I just butchered her last name. I am writing to voice my objection to the proposed new taxes for property and the library. This email is regarding property taxes. I have a home on 6 acres near Pine and get absolutely no county services except for the sheriff. We pay for our own road maintenance. There is no water, sewer, streetlights, trash, or other service, and I pay close to $8,000 per year. It is outrageous to consider giving another penny to the schools and breaking homeowners in the process. It has been a tough year for everyone. I cannot impose a tax to increase my personal income to cover increased property, gas, and sales taxes. I have to tighten up and live within my means. The county needs to live within their means, or you will drive people out of Arizona just like California. And respectfully, Bridget, and I'll spell her last name, Gollogly. And she's, I believe, from Pine. Next one is from Karen Davis. I am voicing my strong objection to this proposed property tax increase. It is yet another example of government overreach. It comes at a time when residents are still struggling from the economic fallout of the virus lockdown. In the meantime, our schools, library, etc. remain closed for an extended period of time due to the virus restrictions, and to date we have not received any refund or relief on our property taxes for the time taxpayers were unable to access these facilities. All of us as taxpayers are expected to tighten our belts and live within our budgets. Why can't the county do the same? If you thought it necessary to build a new county building, then funds should have been appropriated and secured from another source other than the taxpayers without their voter consent. Regards, Karen Davis from Star Valley. And that's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Minlove, you were...
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I just had one comment. There was a comment of using COVID funds to fill in our budget gaps we might have. The COVID funds that we have received are restricted to specifically use for COVID-related expenses, or in this latest round for infrastructure, water, wastewater, or broadband. So they're very limited on what we can use those COVID-related funds that we have received. They cannot supplement our county general fund. So just want to make sure we are clear on that these COVID monies are not available to our general budget.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any public in Payson that would care to comment?
No, sir.
And I see no public here in this office. Do we have anyone on YouTube that would care to comment? Okay, then I will close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion. And this is also a roll call vote.
You want any discussion first between us?
Pardon me? Oh, okay, okay. Back up. Before I call for the motion, Supervisor Christensen, would you care to comment?
Thank you, Chairman. I would. Thank you, Mary, for your presentation. So I feel for the people that have written in because they think that their taxes are going up. And I also am a person that would agree very strongly with what they're saying. I'm not a big government person. I'm not here to expand the county taxes and all that. We need to be able to provide the services. So we're keeping the tax rate the same. It's the same. It's been the same for the last 11 years or so. So the tax rate is not changing. Your valuation may have gone up, which means you'll be paying more in taxes, but it's not because we're increasing the tax rate. So it's your feeling that we're going to increase the general fund by approximately $500,000 this year. Is that what I'm reading? Is that what I'm understanding? A little over $500,000 because of valuation changes.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, that's correct.
And you feel that we need that full $500,000, that we could not operate. We need that due to inflation and other aspects to the general fund.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, I believe that in meeting with all the departments and keeping things as flat as possible, we have incorporated all the items that are necessary for the budget. And yes, I believe that that amount is necessary to run our business for the following year.
So by decreasing taxes would be a negative effect to our budget in services, and we would ultimately have to increase it again later. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, I don't know that increasing it later is the option, but you could stand to lose personnel or diminish services. There could be a fallout of not maintaining the level of service that you're expecting the county to provide.
So you're recommending keeping it the same as the most prudent move?
I do.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and it's a tough one. Like you said, if we fell back to what, 4.09 is what you said? That remains flat with the $7,000 increase.
Correct.
But when you look at what we're trying to do for our people, our constituents of the county, and what we have to do as far as our employees, with the health insurance increases and whatever else we have going on right there, that's just not going to work, in my opinion. I totally agree with the fact that our people in our county expect a level of service that we need to try and maintain and or even improve on. And so as I look at this, and I look at, say, for the lady referenced the new building in Payson, this is a service that's going to benefit a lot of people in that corner, and we have not raised taxes to do that. We did not increase anything to do that. So to me, that's showing that we are increasing our services to our people. We are remaining and staying with our current tax rate, and we're trying to hold things down. I totally agree with Supervisor Christensen, and I'm sure Humphrey as well, that there isn't one of us that want to raise taxes. We just don't want to do that. But the other part of that is I can't imagine us trying to get into this game of lowering taxes by a few notches and then upping taxes again the next go around. I mean, that's just not where I think I want to be at all. And by remaining flat with that tax rate, I think that's exactly the way we ought to be going. And I hope people understand that. The other thing I want them to understand too is, okay, let's use the libraries, for instance. If there's issues with services, by all means, I hope these people understand they need to be talking to their library boards, the folks that control those services and working with things. It's not us. I know, I've been here long enough to totally understand that anything that happens in the county, they look at the three of us as to why you're doing this. But there's so many different angles. And so when it comes to other services that's beyond our control, we can't step in there and necessarily tell libraries when they can and can't open. That's up to the board that those people in those districts elect. And I hope people would understand that. So if there are issues, please attend those board meetings and talk to those folks. So, Mr. Chair, that's all I had. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's a big picture that sometimes is difficult to see, because a lot of our services are required by the state. It's not services that we just go out and provide. And as far as the new construction that we've been able to do with the animal shelter and the building in Payson and things, that's because as the board that we are, we're working smarter, not harder, because there was during the COVID, there was low interest money available. And because we fought hard with Mary Springer and our finances to get caught up on our state audits, we have a AA rating, which is almost unheard of for a county, which allowed us to reach out and borrow money to pay off old debt that was at 7% and so interest. We could get it down to 2%. And so therefore gave us money to be able to serve the public, and our bills did not go up because of it. So we didn't raise taxes to do any of that. That was just good business, working with finance and having a financing staff that worked hard to get our ducks in a row, because they were not in a row before. And so we were unable to put in for some of the grants and some of the things. And so, that's where the money came from for us to be able to do some of these things. And I believe that as a board, we're not to raise taxes, but also we have to account as a county for new building permits and things of that nature and the assessed value of properties. And so with that, I'm finished, and if there's no further public, Mr. Minloff, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, several comments of an overreach of government. I think it might be appropriate for us to have the discussion on what has Gila County done and where are we in trying to control government and to limit the size of government. Not too many years ago, Gila County had a full-time equivalent employee of over 850 employees. We now sit at less than 600 full-time FTEs, full-time employees that are budgeted. I was looking at it last night of how many employees that we currently have. There's 558, but a number of those, approximately 50 of those are just temporary part-time employees. So we're down to just in 510 employees out of nearly 600 budgeted. The reason for that is a lot of times just because of our salaries. We are not able to be competitive in what we're trying to reach. I know Michael has been trying to get with me for a number of weeks and months about his animal control officers, that he's got 2 positions that have been open and vacant for over a year. We've got a number of positions like that throughout the county. Recently, we have a opening for our human resources director. We had 1 qualified applicant. We interviewed that person, and she declined to accept the position with Gila County. A number of issues, but part of that is salary. So up and down, we are struggling to fill positions. Thank goodness we have great, awesome staff at Gila County that their jobs are important to them, and they want to give to the public because they're filling in double and triple time for those positions that are not filled. So we are continue to evaluate each department. We look for ways to be more efficient, be more effective, that we can take services to public at a lower reduced cost. But from what it is, there has been a significant reduction in the workforce over the years, and we continue to go in that trend. So we are mindful of our budget, mindful of the impact that taxes have on a person, on an individual, and trying to make ends meet. And we continually look for those ways that we can be more effective and more efficient. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Klein, do you have something else?
Just one real quick, and thank you, James, for bringing all that up, because one thing we just passed here in your absence was the increase for the sheriff's department to try and retain and attract more deputies into the sheriff's office. That's going to come to us at a cost of about $200,000. And so I want people out there to understand, we're trying to do these things with just as tight as we can in order to get it done. And when I look at the sheriff's department as one, and I remember their annual report that they turned in and the drugs they took off the streets and on and on and on, I mean, how could we not do something like that? How can we not try and help them? The days of us training officers just to lose them to Pinal County or DPS or whoever, we need to turn that ship around, And so, yeah, thank you, James, for all that.
Okay, if that's all the comments from the board and staff, I will call for a motion, and remember, this is a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to approve the Gila County proposed primary property tax levy rate of $4.19 per 100 of assessed value for fiscal year 2022.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, we will call for a vote from Marion, and it'll be a roll call vote.
Thank you. Chairman Humphrey, may I have your vote?
Yay.
Vice Chairman Christensen, may I have your vote?
Aye.
Supervisor Klein, may I have your vote?
Aye.
The motion passes with a unanimous vote of the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. I'll call for a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors to address 2C. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn as the Gila County Board of Supervisors and convene as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors.
And I'll second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Item was approved. Now that we're wearing different hats, we're bouncing around here pretty good. Okay, convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Library District tentative budget, which was adopted on June 15th, 2021, or any proposed changes to the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Library District tentative budget and adopt the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Library District budget in the amount of $2,192,917. Jackie Sanders, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and board members. There have been no changes to this budget from the preliminary budget that we did about a month ago. I will tell you that just a couple of things, if you'll indulge me. The $2,192,000 budget for the library district includes about $330,000 in prudent reserves and includes a little over $200,000 in grant funding. In addition to that, we are about halfway through our construction project for the $19 million E-rate construction grant that you all approved that provides high-speed broadband to libraries and schools. That number is not included in this because we don't receive that. That's handled outside of this, so it's in addition to this. I will tell you that with our 8 public libraries, we're an administrative office that provides services to the 8 public libraries. During the last year with the pandemic, we had one library that was closed for the duration of the pandemic because the reservation was closed for the duration of the pandemic. The other 7 libraries, we provide internet access, we provide wireless access to people. We provide, so they can come to so even when libraries were closed, they can come to the parking lot and access our internet, our wireless access. We had libraries providing curbside while the libraries were still not letting folks inside, but you could reserve a book and it would be delivered to you curbside. We even had a couple of libraries that had devices that if you didn't have your own computer, you could pull up into the parking lot and use a computer. We have online resources, e-books. One library helped provide lunches. So libraries continued to provide service during this last year, and we want to maintain and increase that level of service for the coming year. And I will answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Then I will open a public hearing. Do you have any comments from public?
Mr. Chair, I do not.
Do we have any public in Payson that care to comment?
No, sir.
I see no public here. Do we have public on YouTube that would care to comment? Okay, then now I will ask for comments from the board. Supervisor Christensen, do you have questions?
Thank
or
you, Mr.
comments?
Chairman. Thank you, Jackie. I really don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Klein.
I don't think I do either, Jackie. Thank you. I think we've been through this a couple times now, so I believe I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, then I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd make the motion to approve the fiscal 2022 Gila County Library District budget in the amount of $2,192,917.
I will second.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn as Gila County Library District Board of Directors and convene as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors to address to the Mayor Springer. Good morning again.
I'm back
The guys
again,
are playing
Mr.
musical
Chairman.
chairs and things this morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I'll make that motion to adjourn as the Gila County Library District Board of Directors and convene as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved.
Good morning again.
Okay, hold on. Let me read it first.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's a 3-ring circus today, isn't it? Okay, here we are on D. Convene a public hearing to Taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Flood Control District tentative budget, which was adopted on June 15, 2021, or any proposed changes to the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Flood Control District tentative budget and adopt the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Flood Control District budget in the amount of $246,030. Mary Springer, there you are.
Thank you,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, members, supervisors. This budget, there isn't a tax that we incur for the flood district, but we do have 3 personnel in that department. So this budget covers their personnel costs and fringe in the amount of $246,030. So we're asking the board to approve the flood control district in that amount.
Okay, thank you. Then I will open a public hearing. Do you have any comments from public on that item?
I do not.
Okay, do we have any public in Payson that cares to address?
No, sir.
I see none here. How about on YouTube? Okay, then I will open it to comments for the board. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mary, for the presentation. I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess it is a question. So we've sat here all the time I've been on this board with this flood control district, and I've kind of always sat there and wondered why we have it. Now, with what's going on with today's time and the amount of fires we have and the flooding that we have, is there more that and maybe this is directed more at Mr. Minlove than you, Mary, but is there something else we should be doing as a flood control district? I mean, should we be, instead of $246,000 to cover some salaries, I mean, should we be funneling money into this district for actually projects? And whether it's grant money, state monies, whatever, FEMA monies, whatever it is, to kind of, I wouldn't say prepare ourselves, because you guys are pretty well prepared already, but I don't know, to maybe have something in this flood control district that actually means something more than just wages?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, absolutely, that is the purpose, the overwhelming purpose of a flood control district is that we identify projects that will help to ensure the safety of citizens and keep them out of danger, peril of flooding and potential drowning, loss of property, and those types of things. In the past, we have not assessed a tax on this, and has just covered any costs or expenses we have out of general fund, which are unrestricted. I know that we've had flooding down in Roosevelt and others along the way. Those are all picked up by general fund. But I will give an example that I have experienced, and Mr. Vela has worked with this very extensively, there's a levee around Winslow up on I-40, and that levee protects the city of Winslow from flooding from Clear Creek and Little Colorado River that all conjoin right about there. About a decade or so ago, there was flooding that it did breach the levee. An area of Winslow was flooded. Those homeowners, residents of that area, sued the county and won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against the county, which again the county had to pay. So there's a liability potential that we have and a risk and exposure that we do have from not having those dollars set aside in a flood control district to, as we said, identify projects that we need to address and then to be able to have the resources to do them. Now, in the way we do this without funding for the flood control district, it's reactionary. We're going in when we flood Campaign Creek or whatever it might be. We go in and do some dredging or whatever it is, pay it out of the. We are not able to be proactive because of the mechanism and the way the flood control district is not funded. If that answers your question, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein.
It does in a sense, I guess, and I'm not proposing any new taxes, so let's just don't. I hope people watching right now realize that. But what I'm saying is whether there's, and maybe you may have input from your angle too as finance director, Mary. But we get emergency money for flooding. We get whatever. I mean, I just see it as a way we have something set aside solely and separately from the general fund that we can all see. Or maybe I've got a big project that I want some mitigation in, some drainage somewhere in, and we work through whatever we need to. I get funded through with our budget. It goes into that, so it's spin out of that. I don't know. I guess I'm asking the question is, if we're not going to do something more than just provide two or three people's salary out of this, then why do we have it, I guess?
Chairman, Supervisor Klein, Supervisor Christensen, good morning. Just wanted to kind of try to address the question, if I can. One of the primary responsibilities of the Flood Control District is to implement and administer the National Flood Insurance Program. And so we provide flood control permitting, helping folks determine whether they're in a floodplain, and if they are in a floodplain, what can they do to make their home safe? And can they build in that part of the floodplain? So the team, the number of people that are in that organization, that's primarily their responsibility today. In years past, we have set money aside for flood projects without necessarily coming to the board and saying we know exactly which project we're going to go on. We budgeted $200,000 in years past, and the same thing this year on the capital side. So we've got $200,000 to work on projects. Currently, we're working with NRCS on a bank protection, Reno Creek, because of the bush fire. And so the fires are driving some of the flood mitigation proposals that we have. And so we have that you approved us for Public Works to continue to work with NRCS on that particular project, that bank protection for Reno Creek. At the same time, taking advantage of the money that's available from DEMA at this point in time because of the fires this year, we have consulted with J.E. Fuller. J.E. Fuller, you saw some of the work that they've done. They've worked on the gauges for us. They're working on the cameras for us, but they're going beyond that. They've done some flood mapping for us. They've helped us determine whether or not we're going to get debris flow. How far is the debris flow going to travel? They're working on the mud flow and the water flow. But they're also going to be working on mitigation measures for us to look ahead and say, what could we do in the future to help our communities? Because the flooding from post-fire is not going to go away. We're going to continue to see this over the years. And so whether it's a new tax or if it's general fund money, we have a little bit of seed money to work with, and as time goes on, we'll determine if that's enough and what else we need to do. That's where we're at today. Okay? Did it get close to answering your question, Supervisor?
Thank you, Homero. And for the people on YouTube, this is our Assistant County Manager, Homero Villa, that has just spoke.
And thank you for that too, Homero. Yes, it answered it in some aspects. It's just that it's something I think coming up. I'd like to have more discussions with you guys and see what some options. I am not in favor of a new tax for anything, but I really kind of want to talk about this flood district, and especially in the sense where you're absolutely right. We're faced with this for quite a few years. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I can make one comment. I said we aren't proactive. We have been very proactive in one huge project, and where there's been the most fatalities in Gila County is in Tonto Basin and a bridge there. We worked for years, and that is very proactive in getting a resolution that will protect lives. So we do work proactively as much as we can.
Okay, yeah, and I agree. At some point in time, we need to discuss flooding, not only because of the fires, but all of our districts go from 7,000 feet to 2,000 feet, and anytime you do that and get a rain, we've had flooding before the fires. It's just going to get worse. And so, okay, if there are no more comments, I will call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Flood Control District budget in the amount of $246,030.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye, item was approved. Okay. Now I will call for a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as a Board of Directors of Gila County Street Lighting Improvement Districts to address 2E. I apologize. I did not close the public hearing prior to the vote. I thought I did before the discussion. Okay. Well, I will close the public hearing. We've already had comments. And so now we will move on. Thank you. So I'll still need a motion to adjourn as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors and convene as the Board of Directors for Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District to address 2E.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn as the Gila County Flood Control District Board of Directors and to convene as the Board of Directors for the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement Districts.
And I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now that we are convened as the lighting district, I am going to convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who may wish to comment on the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District SLID SLIDS. Okay. Tentative budget, which were adopted on June 15th, 2021, any proposed changes to the fiscal year 2022 Gila County Streetlight Improvement District tentative budget and adopt the fiscal year 2022 budget for Gila County Streetlight Improvement District as follows. Pine Streetlight Improvement District, $2,008. East Verde Streetlight Improvement District, $4,731. Miami Gardens Streetlight Improvement District, $3,166. Apache Hills Streetlight Improvement District, $3,750. Upper Glendale Streetlight Improvement District, $1,574. Midland City Central Heights Streetlight Improvement District, $5,613. Pardon me? $15,613, and Claypool Streetlight Improvement District, $18,361. Mary Springer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. You made my life easy by reading all those numbers. And what this is asking you to approve the street lighting improvement district for each one of those areas. Each one has their own individual tax, and that tax is made up of the utility bills to keep the lights on. So we're asking you to approve those amounts in their budgets.
Okay, I will open a public hearing. Do you have any comments from the public?
I do not.
Do we have any comments from the public in Payson?
No, sir.
I see none here in this office. Do we have any comments from the public on YouTube? Okay, I will close the public hearing and open it for comments to the board. Supervisor Christensen, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Chairman. No, thank you, Mayor. I have no comments.
Supervisor Klein.
Mary, do Do we spend this money every year, or are we carrying money over in this?
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Klein, this pretty much evens out. That's what the bill is, that's what the rate is. So we don't really have carryover.
Okay, so that's what it's taken to do what we need done with the lights.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, to keep them on.
Keep the lights on.
Keep
Yeah.
them on. Okay. All right. If there's no further comments, then I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 budgets for the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement Districts as presented.
I will second.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved. Moving on, I will now ask for a motion to adjourn as the Board of Directors of Gila County Streetlight Improvement District and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion to adjourn as the Board of Directors of the Gila County Street Lighting Improvement District and reconvene as the Gila County Board of Supervisors.
And I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Now that we are back to being the Board of Supervisors, Gila County Board of Supervisors, I'm going to convene a public hearing to hear taxpayers who wish to comment on the fiscal year 2022 Gila County tentative budget, which was adopted on June 15, 2021, or any proposed changes to fiscal year 2022 Gila County tentative budget and adopt resolution number 21-07-03 authorizing the adoption of the fiscal year 2022 Gila County budget in the amount of $115,838,783. Mary Springer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Maren Belling. She is our budget wizard in the finance department, and I'd like her to walk you through our presentation and our proposed budget.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members, supervisors. Before we talk about the budget, I want to clarify something for the three of you, for the public who are listening, for any staff who are listening. We did not adopt tax rates today. Statutorily, we adopt tax rates the third Monday of August. So today you had the T&T hearings. Those tax rates aren't effective yet. Just so that if any public is listening and reading through the ARS while they're going, they know we didn't adopt tax rates today. We're not violating anything. We just have to have those T&T hearings before we talk to you about adopting the final budget for Gila County here. So we'll see you again on August, I think it's the 16th, for those tax rates. So all your questions can have another chance. Okay. We don't have very many changes to this presentation from where we were on the 15th of June, so I will try to keep it short. As stated previously, our budget priorities this year were to maintain the primary property tax rate of $4.19, which has been consistent since 2010. And for our constituents who are listening, just so that there's a record of this, the changes in taxable values from 21 to 22, centrally assessed values decreased $2,691,640. Our new construction value was $173,363, and real property values increased $2,865,402. There were no changes to personal property taxable values. So that information was emailed to you on June 7th, but I wanted to make sure that that was in the record. You asked us to operate within our revenue limits and to maintain public service levels, so those were our targets. We did have ongoing capital improvements and do have ongoing capital improvements. Those were funded with a bond, and those bond payments are funded from excise tax, not property tax. So that is all sales tax that we pledged for that. It is not coming out of your taxpayer's primary property tax. Completed in 2021 were the new animal shelter and the Globe Jail. In process, we still have the Payson Multipurpose Building with a projected completion in December. We have ongoing challenges, opportunities, and other considerations for the going concern. Primarily, our PSPRS debt service versus our unamortized actuarial liability is still sort of an unknown. We have had increases to unfunded mandates from the state, and we are having our recovery from wildfire, as everyone knows. Everything else is pretty consistent from the last time we discussed this. We have our new initiatives and future program investments, including the Highway 60 corridor Gila Proud cleanup. We're looking at regional public transportation, economic development, fairgrounds, parks and rec, and the public defender's office. We do have some strengths that our constituents should be aware of. As Chairman pointed out, we do have a AA credit rating affirmed by Standard & Poor's. And our general fund pledged revenue to debt service ratio is 5.47. So that means that our revenue streams, not property tax, are 5.47 times what the debt service on those bond payments are. We also have been really good this year about keeping everybody in the loop with communication. And you saw today that we're continuing to expand that with the flood gauges and the trail cams. This is just revisiting where we were with the revenue ratios at tentative adoption, and those are unchanged. 30% of our general fund revenue comes from primary property taxes. And we are, as we go toward adopting tax rates, we do have a graphic that we put together every year that we'll bring to you then, and it shows a dollar bill and what percent of the dollar of each taxpayer's bill is actually primary property tax. And we have worked that out for each city and town, each school district, and the other things, so that if I, as a taxpayer, want to see how much of my tax dollar comes here, how much goes to the schools, it's visible and easy to see in a useful graphic. And then we look at our general fund expenditures. Our general government expenses are 15% of the general fund, which is a pretty low amount, all things considered. Our debt service is 4%, and our access and all-tax, which is a state mandated payment, is 8%. That is for indigent and elderly care. We also have our budgeted staff by function, and this is the same as it was when we talked about it before, but Mr. Menlove did point out that we've had a significant and important increase in efficiency in our staffing, so that our existing staff are doing everything they can to keep things running smoothly. And of most importance here is that the combination of law enforcement and courts and criminal defense make up 49% of our staffing. And then these graphs, you guys have seen these before, that just show that we do have more grant funds coming in 22 and 21 as compared to 2020. That's both a combination of getting current with our single audit and the availability of funds from COVID and various other resources. And here you have your Schedule A summary of revenues and expenses, which shows, see if I can do this without blinding anybody, shows down here at the bottom the funds that we're maintaining for future debt retirement of $1.5 million. And then we've got future capital projects below that. We have $10,000 or $10 million in our fund for future financial stability. And then the American Rescue Plan Act fund is all set aside because they're still developing the rules for what that can be used for. And this total comes to the $115,838,783 that is in your motion. And then we have our tax levy and tax rate information. This is known as Schedule B in the budget book. This includes all the numbers that you guys have talked about today: the primary property tax rate, the library district, the street lighting improvement districts, and that we do not have a flood control tax at this time. That's all I've got. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for your presentation. And with the presentation, I will open for a public hearing. Do you have any comments? No.
No.
Okay. Well, that's good. Anyone in Payson care to comment?
No, sir.
I see none here in this office. Do we have anyone on YouTube that would care to comment? Okay, then I will close the public hearing and I will open it to the board. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Marion, for your presentation. So I think I understand it, but I do have a question. So 30% of our budget comes from property taxes.
30% of our general fund budget, yes.
Okay. And so 30% of this number would be somewhere around 40,000 or 40 million or?
It's $23,542,297.
Well, very good. Okay. Can you tell me if that's higher or the same or lower than last year?
It is 500,000 more than last year. Last year's number was 23,019,123. So it's about 530,000 more than last year.
Okay. And that's due to assessments or new construction or something.
Yes.
And so just so that the public understands that 70% of our budget is other revenue streams, not property taxation. And so that 500,000 you're talking about in increase is county-wide, right? That's the entire county.
That's the entire county. That's the entire primary property tax increase.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. That's just what I wanted to clarify.
Yep. And
Thanks.
did you want me to reiterate what those, where the increases were as far as real property and new construction?
Okay.
Okay. So real property values increased year to year, $2,865,402. New construction value increased $173,363. And our centrally assessed values did decrease $2,691,640.
So what was that last? Centrally assessed?
Yes.
What's that mean?
Those are, correct me if I'm wrong, those are when the mines report their own value.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, those are utility companies and mines. They're entities that locally we don't have an ability to assess a value, to fix a value to those utilities and what they have. So all of those centrally assessed, they are done by Arizona Department of Revenue, ADOR. So that's why they're called centrally assessed. That's all done by the state.
Okay. All right. It's interesting that their values have gone down where everybody else's has gone up.
We had a year when they increased $16 million not terribly long ago.
Yeah.
So they're probably leveling out a little.
Okay. Thank you, Marin.
Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Steve, there's a lot of interesting things about the centrally assessed part of this equation that one of these days I think maybe we can dig into a little deeper. So, Marin, thank you so much for everything. You do a good job. I really appreciate it. And I have no questions.
Okay, if there's no further comments, Supervisor, Mr. Minlove.
Mr. Chairman, I want to express appreciation to Marin and the entire finance department for putting together the budget. My heart will always be near and dear to the finance end of government and operations. And when I transitioned to a new role, I was like a mother hen that wanted to, sit over the top of it. And I have not had to look at anything. We've had conversations along the way, but Marin has taken care of all the detail and gone through it. And I have not had to worry about, because I know I have Marin, and it's going to be right and it's going to be accurate, and she does a fantastic job. So I just wanted to express that to you and the public of we are fortunate and blessed to have Marin in our finance department.
Indeed.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Like I say, having a AA rating as a rural county is amazing, and you guys have done that. So thank you very much. And if there's no further comments, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2022 Gila County budget in the amount of $115,838,783.
I will second that.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item was approved.
Thank you.
And gentlemen, we're not changing hats, but we are moving on.
Yay.
Okay, we are at 3, regular agenda item. Information, discussion, action to approve the use of state contract number ADSP 018-207044 with E.J. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology Incorporated in the amount of $119,000 to complete 4 tasks to assist officials in alerting the public to flooding. Mr. Sanders.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is the first of 2 contracts with J.E. Fuller. This one is, well, actually, I'll back up just a minute if I could. When the telegraph fire was burning around Globe, we knew that we were going to have trouble once it was out. We reached out, Homer Vela reached out to J.E. Fuller about the possibility of getting them on board. They were happy to work with us and started providing a lot of information, meetings, and kind of give us some direction on how to move forward. And this contract is for the cameras, the rain gauges, upgrade gauges that weren't working, maintain gauges for the next number of years. We submitted this contract, or Michael O'Driscoll's department submitted this to DIFM for the state money. It was approved, so it's a reimbursable. We'll pay the bill when it comes in. Finance department will turn around and bill the state, and we'll be reimbursed. So this isn't costing us anything other than staff time to assist and work with them.
Thank
Happy
you.
to answer any questions you have on it.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for that, Steve. I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So, Steve, this outfit's going to go in there and just beef, maybe not beef up, but put everything together they've got in the field now and make it more readily available to our public and us.
They have that little presentation earlier showing you the gauges, that stuff they've already done. They've been in the field for a couple of weeks already.
So this is all inadvertently going to be tied into the Everbridge part of this, or the notifications that go out, or I mean, they're going to.
Yeah, notifications, I believe, will go to the emergency manager and his designee. They will turn around based on that and send out Everbridge and stuff.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Okay, yeah. Omar and Steve and staff, thank you guys very much for getting ahead of the curve and reaching out to them prior to the monsoons hitting, and it was timed really, really well. So thank you very much for reaching out way ahead. And if there's no further comments, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the use of state contract number ADSP0PO, 18-207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and Geomorphology Incorporated in the amount of $119,000.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Having a motion and a second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Item was approved. Moving on to 3B, information, discussion, action to approve the use of state contract number ADSP 018-207044 with J.E. Fuller and Hydrology and Geomorphology Incorporated in the amount of $260,000 to prepare, design, modeling for 4 watersheds affected by the telegraph fire and assist with flood mitigation measures. Again, Steve Sanders.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This contract is the same way it's been approved by the state, so it's a reimbursable contract. Will not cost us any money. J.E. Fuller's already started to provide maps. We have inundation maps that show points of concentration, flood maps, if you will, from using the burn severity maps from the BEAR team. They've also started to provide mud flow maps showing where we can expect that on all of the water courses that were affected. They're providing mitigation measures, and as a side note, we have invited NRCS to come in and start assisting us with their technical expertise, looking at potential mitigation measures and stuff. Jay Fuller will be with them. So this is getting the maps out to us, looking where we can expect flooding, the size of flooding we can, or the depth we can expect, that type of stuff, and long-range planning to mitigate future flooding. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Steve. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you. I have no questions.
Supervisor Klein.
So, Steve, didn't we get a lot of this information already through the Bear assessment team on these watersheds?
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Klein, no. They stop at the forest boundary. We used a lot of their information, the burn severity maps, the soil burn severity, to develop this. But this was developed downstream using our current LIDAR data that provides topography, elevations, things like that.
So this is one of them I've been looking at real close, and I have a hard time. I have questions on it. You know, $260,000 for this. I need to know how that's going to benefit us, I guess is what I'm saying. But you mentioned that what they provide, you will be able to sit down with the NRCS and maybe help develop.
We're looking at just one factor of this is some of the mitigation from the flooding. We're looking at different kinds of mitigation measures, some of the upstream just inside the forest boundary on private land, different kinds of debris catching rings that would stop the material coming down. Mm-hmm. We'll have NRCS come in, see if that's practical, then maybe leverage their money to put long range things like that in place and stuff. But these maps they provided go from basically the forest boundary all the way to the water treatment plant in Wheatfields, showing inundation from the rains, what to protect. If you look to see that a lot of the downtown businesses have already started using them, trying to protect. And it's based on, their models are based on rainfall that has fell in the last year up there. So they're not outrageous, and not to scare people, but we're looking at parts of Globe, if they get it across the burn scar, 5 foot underwater. Mm-hmm. Through town, and breaking out in Miami, coming down Sullivan Street and the highway.
So what I'm hearing from you then is they've taken, or they've seen, or however you want to put it, the Bear team assessments that's on the Fed side of it, the soil types, the severity of the burn, the slope factors, all of that, and they're adding that to what they could do inside of the town, city, private properties, with all these streams that are going through, like Globe, Miami, Central Heights, all of that. So let me just ask you. They would be able to provide us the information that says there's X amount of debris going to come off that mountain, and it's going to come into Globe. And in order to mitigate for that debris, open things up, we're going to have to do X, Y, and Z through these drainages to keep things going. That's what they're really looking at. Am I right?
Chairman Humphrey, Supervisor Klein, to a point, yes. They're taking all the information from the fire and then creating models of rain events coming down onto the private with mud flows. And I always called it debris, but I was schooled a couple of days ago by someone from the U of A that debris is basically boulders the size of vehicles and stuff. What we're seeing in the channels coming down is more of a mud flow. It's just the sticks, the mud, that kind of stuff. They're developing maps that will show all of that, where we can expect that, the points of concentration of flooding, things like that. And they've developed quite a few so far for us and continuing to update those. And it's all based on, yes, what the Bear team has done in the burn scar that we've now transferred down to what we can expect with different rain events. And they have been pretty close. The one that hit 6-shooter on the 4th of July was just about what they had predicted.
So this is where I have to get it right in my mind, because $260,000 is a lot of money. And if they're looking at it in a way that you, county, however you want to put it, can sit down with the NRCS and say, this is what we need to survive this situation we're in. And Hopefully NRCS would be amenable to that and help us. Otherwise, I mean, 260,000 go a long ways on the ground in other ways. I get it. And it is in our general fund, but it's still emergency money, for this situation. So,
The state's turning right around and paying us back.
yeah.
So
that's
this
what I mean.
isn't coming from
Right.
from the county long term.
But I want to make the most out of every dollar we get out of the state. And so that's why I had these questions to make sure that this is going to benefit. I mean, anybody with any sense is going to say, yeah, it's going to rain and it's going to flood. That's pretty simple. You don't.
But they have already started to show us where and what to expect. The hospital has taken
Right.
major preventative measures based off of these preliminary maps coming out.
Which
some
we
of-
knew that ahead of time.
We didn't know how big or where or what to expect, but we know it's going to flood. Where it hits, how much we
Right.
still don't have an idea. We have a better educated guess now than we did before, but this will benefit everything long range.
So when they go through there, thank you, Steve. And so they go through there, Homero, and they put these maps or whatever it is together. Whether it's this year or it's next year, grant monies, NRCS contract money, whatever it is, Homero, this will all become part of that package to help us stay up with this.
This is information that's long-lasting. The information they're going to provide is long-lasting. It's a study of the watersheds, and can help us now and can help us in the future. But I'd like to take us back to when we made the decision to hire J.E. Fuller. Okay, when we made a decision to hire J.E. Fuller, we did not have a bear map. We did not have a promise of when the bear team was going to provide us results. What we had learned on the bushfire is it took them a long time to take us what the soil severity was for us to even have a glimpse of what could possibly happen. So we actually wanted J.E. Fuller to get ahead of the bear team if need be, okay? And it turned out that the bear team on the telegraph fire acted very responsible and very fast. And they provided information as J.E. Fuller was developing these flow maps that take the debris flow and or the mud flow from outside of the forest area into the remaining part of the watershed, meaning the towns and the private properties. Now they're developing these models that show the extent of the flooding, and we're asking them. There's no magic here. They're not going to come back and say you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're done. And if they do, we couldn't afford 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, but we're asking them to come up with mitigation measures. What should we do? What's in a priority fashion? What should we do first, second, and third? Help guide us that way. So Steve is asked NRCS to come out and visit. Okay, do we have right today at this moment? Do we have a story to tell NRCS? Well, no, we don't. NRCS should bring part of that to the table. Has always been my contention. They should be experts on this. We shouldn't have to be the experts on post-mitigation wildfire. We're learning. In the bushfire, we walked with NRCS, I think it was through 13 streams, and we came up with maybe 2 ideas, okay? The ideas mostly were from Gila County. They did not come from NRCS. So we're sitting back here asking ourselves, what are we going to do with the telegraph fire? We have Miami and Globe at risk. And to depend on our expertise, to me, was irresponsible. So we reached out to J.E. Fuller. Okay, they're experts in this. They have done many studies. They actually work with the Schultz Fire in Coconino County. They very quickly got together with the bear team. They didn't waste any time. They were talking to the bear team before we were. They reached out to Ann Yoberg, who is the expert on debris flow, who works for Arizona Geological Survey. They have this ability, these contacts, and this expertise. They do modeling at every level, HECRAS, all the modeling systems that are available for anyone to do, they're experts at it. So we reached out to them ahead of time, and they were able to give us priority. And they worked a lot of weekends. They called Steve Saturdays, Sundays, when the cameras were showing flow and the rain gauges were tipping, they were calling. And so we're working with them. Are they going to spend all the money? We don't know that they're going to spend all the money. Maybe we ask them to do additional watersheds if there's money left over. Last year, we were trying to do something like this through a grant program with the Arizona Geological Survey. We were willing to put $100,000 as our own money to sponsor 25% of the study. So you were looking at a study that was $400,000. This is something they did for Coconino County. These studies are expensive. It's not just one engineer working on this. They're going rated at $150 an hour. There's like 5 or 6 top-of-the-line engineers working on this project. And they're giving us information faster than anybody else has given us. We have learned a lot with the Telegraph fire, and you're exactly right. Anybody can tell you to put sandbags down. By the way, you don't put them on the perimeter of your property. You put them adjacent to your home. If you put the sandbags on the perimeter of your property, you're just narrowing the drainage way, okay? And they're going to be picked up and taken away by the mud flow. You're not going to find them there on the perimeter of your property. And where do you put K-rails? Some of the things that we've learned is that plastic K-rails, they might be good for barricading a low water crossing, but they're no good to protect you. They become floating bombs, if you will, okay? The concrete K-rails. If you really want to barricade properties against flood, use the concrete K-rails, okay? Those are the things that we're learning. And those are the simple things. But we want to learn more from J.E. Fuller, and we don't have a magic formula. And hopefully they can take us a long ways in understanding what needs to be done in post-mitigation. I think we can learn a lot from them. And we'd be happy to come back and present to you their findings, because I think it should be widely shared, the things that we find and how we approach this particular fire, because we've learned a lot. We've gone through 3 big fires in 3 years in a row, okay? And if you ask yourself, what have we done for post-fire mitigation? Up until now, it's been very little, actually. We just wait for the next fire, and we clean up, and we wait for the next storm, and we clean up, and we need to grow up a little bit on how we go about post-fire mitigation. That's what we're trying to do with J.E. Fuller.
So I appreciate that, Homer. I do. One thing that this really totally brings to light, in my opinion, is what the hell is NRCS doing these days? Because we are absolutely not getting anything out of these people. NRCS, for those of you that don't know, is an offshoot of the old Soil Service, Conservation Service. These people back then knew their stuff when it came to drainage mitigations and everything. And it seems like every time I have discussions with people outside of this office, it's the same thing. NRCS doesn't want to play. NRCS says no. NRCS can't do that. So I think, honestly, from a county standpoint, we need to have those answers. Just why is NRCS even around? And get that answered, because there's so much more that they could be doing that we shouldn't, as a small rural county, have to step in there, spend a ton of money to give them everything that they should honestly already know and have. And so, but my biggest thing with this Fuller outfit is just to make sure that this is something that is usable, whether it's in the future, because to me, soils are soils, and the same soil type, wherever it is, the same information could be used if the slopes are somewhat close to the same. So you do these maps, and as we're going right now, we're having these incidents every year. We're having at least one every year. And so if we put the $260,000 into it, whatever it is, and we get this developed, then it's something that we as a county hopefully can use in the future, because these are not going to go away. And so that's where I'm coming from. I'm pressing you guys today to make sure this isn't just a feel-good thing that we're going to do. And I think, Homer, you understand that, where I'm coming from on this. And so by hearing your explanations, hearing what it can be used for, I'm good with that. So, Mr. Chair, hopefully we take into consideration what NRCS is not doing these days. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein, that's exactly what we're doing. I've had 3 major fires in my district the last 3 years. Well, 4 years, because the Pinellas burnt before. NRCS shows up with their hands in their pocket and does nothing for us. They expect us to do the designs and things of that nature, and then they decide if they're going to pay for what we designed. So getting ahead of the curve, we are going to have someone else design something and hand it to them, hoping for a different result. And so I guess my only question of staff is, I appreciate the invitation within our CS to meet with J.D. Fuller. Have they said yes to our invitation?
Mr. Chairman, yes, they have. We reached out to them last week, and they're putting a technical team together to come into the area. I told them to plan on spending at least 2 days here. It wasn't going to be a quick trip through. There was a lot of things to look at. They should be hearing from them in the next few days as to when they'll come.
Yeah, thank you very, very much, because I did a walkthrough with staff when they came for the bushfire, and so I'd like to be present and part of this other. So if you'd let me know, but I'm happy that they're at least showing up, and hopefully we will be able to present them with something, so we'll get a different result from we have the last 2 years. So thank you very much. And if there's no further questions, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the motion to approve the use of state contract number ADSP 018-207044 with J.E. Fuller Hydrology and what'd you say?
Geomorphology.
There you go. I'd have butchered that one bad. Incorporated in the amount of $260,000.
That's a word. That's quite a word. How do you answer the phone doing that? Hello, this is,
Yeah.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
Having a motion second, all in favor do so by saying aye.
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 Item was approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Homero, for thinking ahead and trying to get ahead of the curve on this. Okay, we're moving on to regular agenda item 3C, information discussion action for the Board of Supervisors to ratify its approval for the board chairman to sign various emergency contracts listed and attached to this agenda item, which are related to emergency post-fire mitigation services. Mary Springer, you're back.
I'm back, Mr. Chairman, members, supervisors. So with the impending floods that we've already seen, Public Works, Steve Sanders reached out to local contractors to get them to agree to provide their price sheets to us and make themselves available to do cleanup and mitigation work as the floods occurred. And in yesterday's meeting, I heard it rains, it floods, we clean it up, it rains, it floods, we clean it up. And that's pretty much what these contractors are set up to do. So Steve, if you want to know where they've been working, he's the one that has been deploying these contracts. We actually have 11 of them, but I'll have one that I'll be coming back with. But we have 10. So we have 9 general contractors or equipment contractors and one gal that does ranching infrastructure assessments. And we did ask the chairman to sign these so we could get out there and take care of things when they did start to happen. So today we're asking you to ratify these contracts. And one other thing, these were approved. The only one that was not approved through DIFM or DEMA was the infrastructure assessment. All the other general contractors, equipment contractors were approved, and each one of them has a not to exceed contract with us for $75,000.
Thank you. Supervisor Christensen, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mary. So this is going to be paid for through DEMA, is what you said, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Christensen, yes, these contracts were approved.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Klein.
So I think that's a good list of contractors. I kind of went through them the other day, took a look at things, and so I think we're good. I do have one question, and Steve, this one might be for you or Homer, one of the two of you. But if an individual's out there and buying, say, Jersey barriers or whatever on their own and doing things on their private property for mitigation, or paying for work themselves out of their pocket, is that kind of stuff reimbursable through us in the emergency management, or?
Right now, I don't know. We're looking at it individually, and I think I know the one that you're talking about. I visited the site and stuff, and we're looking to do some more out there. I think it will just depend on when the work was done and when the contract was signed with the company that did it. If it all fits and meets, then I would say, yeah, that we'll ask that contractor to turn it in.
Okay. All right, thanks. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, I would just like to thank the contractors. I have drove through some of the areas of these creeks and flooding. I drove through them when they were flooding and after the flood, and I've driven the areas lately. And my hat's off to the contractors. They've done a real competent job in cleaning up the debris. I was really impressed. I was the last time I was not as impressed with the work that's being done this time around, and I'm really impressed. So my hat's off to the contractors, and I'd like to thank them all very much for committing to the contract, even though I know all of them stay busy 24/7, and they've made time to come and help us in time of need. So my hat's off to them 100%, and I thank them very much for being active members in the community to put some of their other projects aside to come and help us protect our creeks and things. And so, Mr. Minlove, did you have something you cared to?
Yeah, just one comment. Unless something changed, all of the contractors that you see here are local contractors. So we're using in-county resources.
Yeah, I looked through the list. And so, okay, I have no further questions, and if that raised no questions, I'll call for motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to ratify the Board of Supervisors' approval for the board chairman's signature on the emergency contracts as presented.
Mr. Chair, I'll second that.
Having a motion, second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Item was approved.
Thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move on. Next item of approve the consent agenda items for A through E. Does any member of the board care to remove any of these items on the consent agenda and have it discussed as a regular agenda item?
No, sir.
No, I'm good.
Okay, then I'll call for a motion to accept the
Mr. Chair,
consent agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve consent agenda items 4A through 4E.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Having a motion, second, all in favor, do so by saying aye.
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 Aye. Consent agenda items were approved. Call to the public. Do we have any public that cares to address the board in Payson today?
No, sir.
I see none here, or we have no paperwork. Do we have anyone on YouTube that would care to address the board today? Okay. We have no one on ID. Okay, then moving on somewhere. Okay, 6, anytime during this meeting pursuant to ARS 38-431.02K, members of the Board of Supervisors and the county manager may present a brief summary of current events. No action may be taken on information presented. I will start with our county manager, Mr. Minlove.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing further today.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Christensen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good to see you back, James. Yeah. I haven't done a lot, but, last Wednesday was the 1-year anniversary of Brian Boatman's death on the Poles fire around Payson there. And so we had a remembrance ceremony for him, for the family. I think there was about 13 of family members and friends that came up for that. And then we had representatives from all the fire stations around and the sheriff's department and a few others. I can't even remember. We had probably, Cheryl, was it 50 people there? Yeah. And very nice ceremony. And there is now a 30-inch by 43-inch photograph that's framed with his information on a plaque on that frame that we will hang up in a permanent remembrance of Brian Boatman in our new building. So, and then yesterday we took a tour with Todd Bowman and Brenda Barton to the Air Medical, which is located there in Payson. It's Navajo Air, and was able to tour their facility. They're there 24/7 for helicopter, basically an emergency room on a rotor. So it's very interesting. They provide a good service there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Supervisor Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We've been off to D.C. again, actually Maryland this time, to the NACO conference. It was held at the Gaylord National Resort in Maryland, right there on the river. Really nice place. And it was good to see some of the folks back in person. I would say for those of us that have been there in the past, it was probably, I don't know, Kathy, half the size of it that it normally would be as far as people, the amount of folks there, but it was still good. Had a lot of discussion in the public lands and WIR about the fires and the trend that we are on as far as fire suppression versus prevention. And so I kind of expect to see here in the near future there being a big push to turn that around. And when I say turn it around, instead of spending the millions and millions of dollars in suppression, I'm hoping to see it shift to where we can start getting a chunk of money in pre-suppression activities. So I'm hoping that that's the case. We had one part of the WIR where the director for the Western Senators Caucus spoke. His name's Josh Sizemore. And that is in their sights. That's what the Western Senators really want to push for, is turning that around. Everybody recognizes the fact that we're doing less and less every day on managing our force. And they're pretty well clued into what the issues are. So we're really hoping that'll turn around. Also, there was a discussion from Josh as well about the 30 by 30 project. And you're going to see more and more of that coming out. They're kind of changing the name to America the Beautiful or something like that. They're sticking conservative words on there and everything. Nobody has really been able to sit down and give me a real in-depth talk on exactly what it's about. So I'm not really sure where we're headed with the 30 by 30. It's an executive order that the president signed not very long ago. My guess is, just watching that administration, and this is why I keep that in mind, is that it's going to be more possibly towards wilderness, monuments, setting aside land, water, whatever it is. So it's something that could really affect us as a county. And so we'll keep watching that and see what comes up there. I attended your luncheon, Michael, for the awards. Good job, buddy. What it was Kathy's got it, and we're going to make sure that everybody gets to take a look at it. There's a pamphlet that was printed out by NACO, listed all the awards. There's a lot of awards. Maricopa out, where we had the award on the COVID deal, Maricopa had like 2 pages worth of awards. And I'm going through those awards that Maricopa turned in and all the other ones too. And I think we've got some things there that need to be recognized too. One is, I don't know where we are with our composting deal that you've been pushing for, Tim, our youth programs and so forth. So it's something that we want to hand those pamphlets out to you guys, or that book, and let you take a look at and see what you think about it for the future, for next year. The ones that got called up on stage were the best in the category. So there was about 8 of them that actually got up on stage, received the award, and pictures out of, I think they said like 800 counties that turned in awards this year. So there's a bunch of them. We talked with Jonathan Sheffield out there. September, there's going to be another PILT Call to Action Day. And what we asked Jonathan was, instead of us going and seeing, calling, whatever it is, to our local representatives, give us the names of the people that don't want to do this. Give us the names of the legislatures that don't believe in the PILT program. Let's write them letters, because our folks here in Arizona, they understand the PILT, they know what it's about, and they support it. But it's the other ones that don't. And that was the same conversations we had the last time we had a PILT fly-in, was why are we going to these? Well, there's a couple offices we went to. I'm not going to go there, but definitely need to have a letter or two to explain our case. So I think that's what we'll see Jonathan do, is give us a list of those offices where we really need to focus on sending that out. And if anybody cares to go back there, why, it'll be in September. I've been to DC enough this year, so I really I hope not to go back. But other than that, I think that is it. I spoke with Patty Powers while I was out there, talked to her a lot about the fires and everything else. So I did not spend any time on the hill while I was out there. We'd done that the trip before, and I did not see any of our representatives till we got off the plane in Phoenix and talked to Mr. O'Halloran in the walkway going up the airport. So other than that, Tim, that's kind of it in a nutshell right now. Thank you.
Okay, well, Supervisor Klein, thanks for representing us on the NACO in Washington. I've been sticking close to home because the last 3 years I've had fires, and I'm kind of concentrating locally to try to help some things going on with our flooding. I've toured, every time we get water, I try to get there as soon as I can while the water's running and see the damage and try to work out for that. My hat's off to staff for stocking the sandbags where they have and keeping them stocked. A lot of people are using them. I don't know when you're going to get to the point that you're going to quit stocking, because it seems they disappear pretty fast. But what a great service to the people that are using them. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, Tonto Basin public meeting, Roosevelt public meeting. And so the thing of it is I don't have a local meeting, and I quit when they were doing COVID, and the fire department asked me not to have my public meetings there because of COVID. And so we've been working on getting on the radio, and KQSS has been doing some remodeling. So tonight at 5 o'clock from 5:30 to 6:30, I believe it is, I will be on KQSS to kind of let people know what we're doing as a county and kind of projects and things that we're working on, things going on with the floods, the cameras, and also to be able to take questions from the public. So that's what we're going to start doing locally, rather than try to have a public meeting as I do in some of the smaller areas. I will from now on be on the radio once a month for the local people to let me know what I need to know. And so we're going to go from there. So if that didn't spark a nerve for anyone, then I will adjourn to. I will go back to Supervisor Klein. There you go.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quick, when it comes to the NACO side of things, if there's either one of you that want to be on any of those committees or boards, that was discussed Sunday while we were doing the Arizona caucus part of it. The Arizona caucus was, of course, we were voting for the next second president of NACO, and so we casted that vote as well. But anyways, brought up, so if anybody's interested, either one of you, as far as being on a committee or any of our other electeds, why, there's application process. You can go through Craig and them down there and submit it, and then they can work on that and go from there. So that's all I wanted to say, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Supervisor Christian, you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, going once, going twice. So today's meeting is adjourned.